and welcome. He's Brazil's best-known musician, famous for his energy and his influence on the country's music industry. He even tried to modernize the music and art scene from the inside for a while by serving in the government. This week on One on One, meet the Grammy Award-winning Brazilian music star, Gilberto Gil. His colourful life began in his birth town of Salvador, an industrial city in the northeast of Brazil, moving soon after to a much smaller town nearby, where he stayed until he was 9. Gilberto Gil began playing music at a young age, joining his first band as a teenager, focusing largely on bossa nova, but soon becoming influenced by sounds from around the world. With his longtime collaborator, Caetano Veloso, he helped to shape the Brazilian music scene, becoming one of the key artists in the Tropicalia movement of the 1960s. His success threatened the Brazilian military government that took power in 1964, and after being arrested in 1969 and held for 9 months, he and Veloso went into exile until 1972. A successful performance at the Montreux Jazz Festival in 1978 boosted his image to an international audience, and he's continued to tour globally since, with a youthful drive that belies his increasing number of years. It becomes very clear from the energy of his live performances why Gilberto Gil is regarded as Brazil's greatest musical talent. Gilberto Gil, it's great to catch you here. You're about to start a concert. I'm glad you could make the time for me.
My pleasure.
Now, you're an iconic figure in Brazil and beyond, but your influences are amazing. Like the country Brazil, you have this incredible mix of different things. If there was one way to describe your music, I know you bring in lyrics with philosophy, folklore, history, you have different music styles. What would you describe it as?
I think that contemporary descriptions of what Brazilian music is about today gives us a definition of pop, Brazilian pop. And we have a MPB, Música Popular Brasileira, Brazilian popular music. That's what I do.
Well, let me take you back to northeast Brazil. You were born in Salvador in the Bahia state of the northeast of the country, and you spent a lot of time in Ituaçu as well.
Ituaçu, because my father and my mother both graduated, from university. My mother is a teacher, professor, and my father a doctor. And the countryside of Brazil desperately needed, professionals, liberal professionals, in different areas, to develop the country, to attend the new populations that were arriving, that were being, born and things. And they went to this small town, 800 people in 1950. And I grew, there. My first contacts with, social life and cultural life, and, were there. Very simple, peasants, simple music, country music, Catholic habits, the church, and that was it.
Was it a strict upbringing you had? Your mother was a teacher.
My mother was a teacher, but my grandmother also was a teacher. And while my mother went to the school, to the official municipal school, my grandmother took care of my education, of my process of learning. My first contact with the studies, were done in the house, at home.
How did your father influence you? What sort of character was he?
My father was, of course, a man coming from the university, from a doctor, a physician, lots of enlightenment times values that he had. Agnostic, no faith in.
Although you were brought up Catholic, you eventually changed.
But my family was Catholic,
right,
from the mother's side, from the grandmother's side, from the other side. But my father was you know, no gods, no creeds, no nothing, and very much into science, into literature. I mean, he was very influential in sort of bringing me very early, you know, into reading and listening to music and those things.
Is it true that you said to your mother when you were about 2.5 years old, I want to be a musician or president of Brazil?
No, not president of Brazil. This is
something
this
else.
is a legend built by the press. No, I said, she asked me what I was thinking to be, you know, when grown, you know, when an adult, and I said I want to be a musician and a father, you know, of children. And she's 96 today, and she still remembers it. She says, yeah, you got it. You are a musician and you're father of 8 children.
So it's wonderful she saw your success. Now, I wonder, I know she was your chief supporter when it came to being musical. She bought you an accordion when you were 10.
Yes. Recollecting what she was told by myself, you know, she said, okay, I think you are 10 now. Now it's time for you to start fulfilling your dream, you know, and let's take you to a music school. What do you want to do? And I said, okay, let me get the accordion, mother, because I was a great admirer of Luis Gonzaga, a great folk music master of those days, you know. He had recently started, and he was becoming huge in the whole country, you know. And today, I mean, he's gone, but he's a legend. He's a great master, and that was my first influence, and that was the reason I took the accordion.
And you had Forró style of music at that time. Is it called Forró?
Forró.
Forró. Sorry.
Forró. Forró, that comes from the word for all. During the Second World War, in some areas northeast of Brazil, the Americans, you know, pilots, and they had some air bases in the area. They used to give parties, you know, big parties for all. Everybody would be welcome. No charge, no nothing. Free for everybody. For all. And then the local people started saying, for all. It became Forró, that labeled the style.
Now, you actually ended up in a band when you were still a teenager at school. It was called Os Desafinados.
Yeah. The untuned.
Yeah,
ones.
the out of tunes.
The out of tunes.
How was that experience, that early band experience?
That was great because, I mean, that was the time the bossa nova music was arriving, you know, and causing a great impact on young people like me. And I decided to adding to the Forró, to the Forró music, you know, the bossa nova style. And then we got a group together, like we were 5, a drummer, a bass player, a guitar player. And I used to play, I played accordion and a little keyboard in the band, and we named it Os Desafinados, and we had a very sort of comprehensive range of different styles and things. Yeah.
I gather you took up guitar because of bossa nova, the interest.
That's definitely João Gilberto. And when I listened for the first time to João Gilberto and his style, you know, and his personal, different way of playing the guitar, new in many ways. Revolutionary in some ways also. I decided that I hadn't decided to quit the accordion, but to you know, to pick up the guitar and start doing some new things, which I did. Also, my mother again gave me the money to go to the shop, the music shop, and buy you a guitar.
It was tough times, though. I gather you were like selling bananas in the market and doing odd jobs to try just to make a living.
Yeah, but I had the support of the family because I was doing my studies, you know. I was in the school, I was at the secondary school and then the university. My studies were financed by, you know, supported and financed by the family. So for peanuts, I would go places to play, you know, and you know, pass the hat.
So 1963, you met Caetano Veloso.
Caetano and Maria Bethânia and Gal Costa, the guys and girls that came to be the Doces Bárbaros, the ones that, you know, migrated, you know, that came to Rio and São Paulo and started a little later the movement called Tropicalia.
And that's what I'm going to ask you about in a minute, but just tell me, what was it that made you click so well with someone like Caetano?
Caetano, it's very, very intelligent guy, very different, very bold and adventurous in many ways, but mainly, absolutely, a huge brain and an extraordinary intelligence and a talent, extraordinary talent for poetry and theater and music and
I'm going to ask you about
an artist.
Well, I'm going to ask you what happened in just a moment. We're going to take a short break here. More one-on-one with Gilberto Gil when we return. Welcome back. You're watching One-on-One. We're speaking with Gilberto Gil, a Brazilian award-winning musician and activist. Now, your relationship with Caetano Veloso was also one where you experienced some fairly tough times. The government, military, police came and actually arrested you.
Yeah, little after we met in Bahia, 1964, it happened, the coup d'etat, no? The seize of the power by the military in Brazil and the installation of a hard regime, you know, a hardliner regime, a dictatorship. And those were good times, you know, lots of killings and obstructions of you know, many institutions and the close of the Congress. And
why did they target you, well, you two especially?
Well, when we did the Tropicalia movement, you know, convoking young people and the younger generation to dedicate a little energy to new forms of music, you know, to revolutionary forms of music. That coincided exactly with the seize of power by them, by the military. They were concerned about the influence that we could sort of have, and we are starting to have over the young generation, especially in big cities like São Paulo, Rio, Salvador, the capitals. And they couldn't just bear it, and they said, no, let's get those guys out of, you know, action.
They took you from Sao Paulo to Rio. And they put you in jail for 3 months, and 4 months of house arrest.
And then house arrest in Salvador for 4 more months, and then exile to Europe.
While you were in prison, I want to ask you about that time, but you took that opportunity to learn to meditate.
Yeah.
You learned about Eastern philosophy, you read, you used that time quite productively.
Yes, I did. Because 3 months after 1 month, you know, I started thinking, well, I don't know for how long I'm going to be here. Let me do something. Let me get me, you know, sort of looking for something. And then I asked some family members to bring me some books about macrobiotics and yoga. And
change your diet.
And yes, I changed my diet. I started reading about Oriental philosophy and Zen, Buddhism, and lots of different things. And I also was for the last 20 days in prison, I was given a guitar by a gentle soldier that was allowed himself to bring his guitar from home to the headquarters and give it to me, and I wrote 4 songs.
Right. You were also sent off, as you say, to exile. You ended up in England for quite a period of time in London, and you discovered reggae.
I discovered reggae because I'm from Chelsea, where I lived for the first year. I moved to Notting Hill Gate, a neighborhood, absolutely full of West Indians and the reggae music and the whole thing. And that was when I got reggae for the first time.
How did you end up performing with bands like Yes and Pink Floyd? You were into the rock scene?
Not with the bands properly, with some members of the bands in sort of jam session situations. We used to get together, go to clubs, nightclubs in London and jam.
Jazz also became something you got into a little bit at that time as well.
Yes, especially the new forms, the changing forms of jazz that with Miles Davis, for instance, Now,
of course, you'd got back to Brazil from exile in 1972, though you obviously started traveling again after that. But when you got back, you actually got quite active in issues such as the environment. What was it? I mean, that's quite an early time to start being aware of these things. People weren't...
No, that was the time.
That was
the time to be,
yeah.
Because the problems, I mean, the impacts, the whole influence of human action over nature, I mean, the things were becoming noticeable, and the problems, were beginning, pollution and agricultural impacts of pesticides and things. And I engaged because I was listening, I was watching, and I said, okay, we got to do human race, got to do something about the future of the planet. Let's start now.
So in 2003, when President Lula took office, he also asked you to be Minister of Culture. And I wonder, when you got took that post, which you held for 5 years, whether you could really, whether you found you had the power to change things the way you wanted to.
Oh, President Lula became a president, sort of to bring Brazil to a different level of attitude, at least, He came to be a new kind of president, to bring new forms of managing the country, of bringing the country into international attention, and so. That was the reason, an artist, well known in Brazil, kind of well known outside, engaged in many ways in the environmental issues and cultural issues, political issues. I mean, the political past, during the dictatorship times, and all of those ingredients gave him this, indication that I could be his minister, and I think we did a good job, yeah.
Of course, when you look at nearly 7 decades, you've filled it with so much and you've accomplished so much, but there's always a price to pay, I guess, when you put yourself out there like that in not just the music, but the politics and everything. And of course, you were married 4 times, and then you lost your son in 1990 in a car accident. Pedro was killed in a car accident. How did that change your view on life, the philosophy of life, that how you approach it?
They are natural things. I mean, we are here to face different, challenges all the time, material ones, spiritual ones, intellectual ones, moral ones. I mean, we are defied, all the time. I mean, to get ahead, to proceed, to go beyond, to go deeper and everything. This is the essential part of life. I mean, you become a lot more educated and prepared for the challenge of life, yeah.
You're obviously a very relaxed person as well, and it's great to have that kind of conversation with you. I was surprised you talk about using marijuana a lot, and it's something that you even said it's something that should be considered medicinal. And I wonder, is that the laid-back culture in which you were brought up?
I did it for a while. I mean, that was part of the values of my generation, to do different experiences, to experiment on mind expanding, on mind changing, on mind enlightening and things. I mean, and marijuana helped me a lot, especially with music. I mean, the attention to music, the possibilities of perceiving different ingredients and different shades and things in music. It gave me that, but it also gave me a little side effect, physical side effect, and then after a while, I mean, when I got to 45, the age of 45, 50, I quit. I decided not to smoke anymore.
You're a musician, you're an activist. Are there any projects, you've accomplished a lot, as I said, but are there any projects outstanding you really want to get your teeth into?
I don't know. I mean, I'm very casual in terms of planning for the future. I think the future takes care of itself, in a sense, you know? It will bring whatever it will, you know, bring to me and to all of us. And so I am here. I try to get okay, to get informed, to get physically and mentally okay. I take care of myself, and I'm very curious about different forms of people, different forms of life. I'm very respectful to, you know, the differences and things. And I think that keeps me, you know, sort of in good shape for whatever future brings.
Well, let me ask you how you'd like to be remembered, what you'd like your legacy to be.
Now, I'm not sure that I want really to be remembered, you know. I think that compulsively, you know, obligatory, I will be remembered because of what I have done already, you know. I wrote 500 songs, 50 albums. I went so many places. I sung for so many people. I mean, I am remembered already, and I'll be remembered for some generations already. And that's already a legacy. It's good size. It's okay for me.
Well, the concert's warming up. We can hear the noise in the background. We don't want to keep you anymore. I wish you a long life, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.